man. All right, but hold on. Speaking of Jayson Tatum, I did want to talk about the Boston Celtics, right? Coming off the NBA championship, probably still has the most complete roster, even after all the offseason moves that was made by all the teams. The question is, will the Boston Celtics two-peat? Because when was the last time we seen a back-to-back champion? Was it Golden State?
Golden State.
All right, and we really haven't seen it since. We've seen Milwaukee win. We've seen Denver win. We've seen the Lakers win. We've seen
win.
Toronto. So it's been a lot of different champions every year, right? So will the Celtics repeat? And if you say yes, then why?
Shoot. I would have to say yes, just off the strength that you still keep the same core together, regardless of what happens. I feel like now they have a championship. They're more battle tested than what they were even last year in the previous years. I know that a healthy Milwaukee Bucks team, a healthy Philly team is still going to be, but I just don't see them like run into no real competition within the East. Like, feel me? They're going to be competitive games within the Philly and Boston or even the New York Knicks. But to say that one team could actually get the better of Boston, it might be Milwaukee, but how confident am I to say that when I seen Boston had Milwaukee's number for quite some time? Miami, I want to believe in Miami. Like, it's the same story every year, feel me? A team that could upset any team, but at the same time is now with just the mixture of Porzingis and Jrue Holiday and like Derek White, you still got those components. It's going to be hard to beat. Payne Pritchard, just came off of one of his better seasons in a better role. They just picked up Lonnie Walker. He might not be as impactful a player, but he could contribute to where he
won the Lakers the playoff game.
Yeah,
I'll never forget that. He deadass won them.
You
that
signed
game.
Everybody that you had to sign back. You have the Luke Cornetts of the world. So feel me, it's the same chemistry, and I feel like that just goes a long way. Joe Mazzulla is not somebody that just is gonna take his feet off the brakes now that he won a championship. He's gonna want more. He wants to build a dynasty, and I think that's what they all want to do. Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum feel like they have something more to prove on their shoulder due to the fact that the USA and Jaylen Brown not being on the USA team. I feel like the league is trying to shun them out. Like, they're not one of the best teams in the league. So I feel like it's just more of a chip on their shoulder. Now, to see who they would face in the West, that would be a different story. But I do feel like this Boston Celtics team has just all the components of what it takes to two-peat.
Jaylen, the Celtics or the field?
I don't think they're gonna repeat. But again, we just have to see once the season starts. Just because, again, I feel like teams in the Eastern Conference are gonna come back, loaded. Just granted, due to their playoff series this year, they haven't really faced like a real superstar. I feel like the best person that they faced was probably Donovan Mitchell. They faced like a hobbled, Heat team, Cleveland team, and then the Pacers with, Halliburton for like a couple games. But I definitely feel like it's going to be different when you're going against a 7-game series against Giannis and Dame. And if you go against, potentially a Joel Embiid and Paul George team, even with the Knicks and their depth, I definitely feel like it's definitely a threat to Boston. But I definitely feel Boston is the team most likely to win the championship, just due to the fact that they have the best roster hands down throughout across the board, and due to the fact that this, even in the past finals, that I definitely feel like they're one of the few teams to where their superstars don't have to really perform as much compared to like other teams, to where, if Giannis doesn't have a good game, they're most likely losing, or if, Jokic is kind of struggling, like Jamal Murray is gonna have to score like 30. I definitely feel like on the Boston Celtics teams, whether Jayson Tatum or Jaylen Brown is having a bad game, they could fill other areas and let other people shine, where you have a Derek White, Jrue Holiday, Kristaps Porzingis, and other players that could fill the void of scoring in any other fields that they're struggling in. So I definitely feel like they have the best roster completely. But for me to just say that they're gonna just repeat, I can't say it just as of yet, because I just want to see what the other teams have going on. But I definitely feel like they're most likely to win out of all the teams in the NBA, to be honest.
Yeah, I definitely agree with the points that Jaylen just made. I just think the field, you talk about all the teams out west that got better, all the teams in the east that got better. I just think it's going to be tough for Boston. He made up a good point that the run that they just went on, they did avoid a lot of teams. And that's not Boston's fault. You got to play who's in front of you. But like he said, you go up against a Cleveland Cavaliers team. Obviously, one team was better. You go against Indiana. Obviously, one team was better. Who did they play in first round?
Heat.
They played the Heat, but and then there was no Jimmy Butler. So I think this year, if you like Jaylen just said, you run into the Milwaukee's, a healthy Miami Heat team, the New York Knicks. I just think there's too many good teams, and now depending who they face out of the Western Conference, right? I think the Timberwolves, they're definitely going to be a lot better now that they're getting that experience. Dallas, they're still going to be hungry. I think if they were to match up again, I think Dallas gives them a better fight. Now you got Klay Thompson over there. Yeah, I just can't say because a two-peat, we just haven't seen it in so long. And then I feel like the league is trying to break up the Celtics anyway.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if this team just stays whole going into the playoffs next season. You also got to look at Kristaps Porzingis' health. I'm not sure how reliable is he going to be. He's a very important piece to that team. And then I hope just due to the type of summer that they did have, that there's no players going into next season with hidden agendas.
Yeah, like an ego, like
Exactly, with a personal point to prove that I'm the best player on this team, or I should get this type of money, or I should be extended. Because, once you win that first championship, I think I've heard a lot of people who did 2P and 3P, trying to do it again is one of the hardest things that you could possibly do. Because teams are, circling you on the calendar a little bit differently now. So I do not think that the Celtics 2P.
yeah. And then, but do you think they make it to the conference final? Because there's been this thing now. I think for the past 3 or 4 seasons, every team that's won a championship, the following year they've been out the second round.
They'll make the conference finals. And that's just me putting some big expectations on them, but they're still in the primes of, I don't even know if they entered their primes yet, but they just have, like we said, the best roster, 2 of the top 10 to 12 best players in the NBA. I think if they don't at least make the conference final, that's a complete disappointment.
Facts.
And then, that's when all the narratives are going to come out. Should they trade this person? Is Joe Mazzulla going to get fired? With this type of roster, if it stays intact and they're healthy, they at least have to make the Eastern Conference Finals.